I admit I'm embarrassed that I didn't trust the Israeli army. The entire Jewish community lived in fear. We had once a demonstration here, the largest we ever had. It's devastating. Those 3 weeks, remember. The only person who was smiling was my teacher, Shaul Lieberman, Talmudic scholar and seminary. He said, Dr. Lieberman, we are all in sleepless nights. You smile. He said, come on. He said, you don't know anything about economy. I said, it's true. What is the relationship? He said, I know. I think he was mistaken. I know economy. The law in economy is, maybe you know that better than I, if a bank lends enough money to an enterprise, even if the enterprise loses, the bank cannot retreat anymore. He said, the God of Israel has invested so much in the history of Israel, he cannot retreat anymore. More, please.
You say that you can't forgive a mass of people, Germans, you can't forgive the Germans, and you talked about this individual that you met, that you did choose to forgive. When do you decide, how do you decide to forgive? Is it on an individual basis? Is that your message here, that we are known for our forgiveness, but that we decide as individuals when that is? Is that your message here?
I said that it's the law, not only that, the law of the Jewish law. It's only this individual person who can come and say, you did something to me and therefore I forgive you. Even then, it presupposes that the perpetrator comes and asks for forgiveness. Without it, there is no forgiveness. I cannot just issue a blank pardon. That perpetrator must come. I told you all a story in Utah, I'll repeat it here. Only once I have the feeling that my words carry weight. I was invited to address the German parliament in Berlin. I think the first in Berlin. I accepted. And I came and I called parliament, all the government and diplomatic corps. It's a very festive occasion. The only person who didn't come was former Chancellor Kohl. And because I had a problem with, remember the course of him, Reagan, the Pittsburgh, you have to just remember all that. Remember all that, okay. The only one. I spoke about forgiveness and saying, but I said to her more or less. At the end, I said, President Rauer was there, Johannes Rauer. President Rauer. Germany has done many things after the war for the Jewish people and for Israel. Money for the survivors, to help Israel economically, diplomatically, even militarily. They have done so many things. And also, you became a democracy. And for this, we all should be grateful. One thing you have not done, you have never asked the Jewish people for forgiveness. You can imagine the silence in the parliament. A week later, I don't know how it happened, he picked himself up, went to Jerusalem, went to the Knesset, to the parliament, and officially asked the Jewish people for forgiveness. But sometimes my words can.
Let's take a final question.
Don't get up, don't get up. I promise not to get up.
God bless you. I never had to worry about what is a Jew or who is a Jew. My mother took me from one Jewish ghetto to the next Jewish ghetto, and I was never a minority. In fact, there was a Christian family within the Jewish community, and what impressed me and what made me feel good as a Jew is we all went out of our way to make certain that that family was coming. be concerned. I say this because when we ask you what is a Jew, a Jew is a product of what he is, where he lives, with whom he lives, and has differences. I don't want to speak too long because Rachel told my wife.
We'll get her to forgive.
I'll keep it short. I grew up in a Jewish community in New Jersey, and my security was absolute. I felt very good. And then I went into the army. And no, you did. I found out I was a Jew. I was defined quite differently. And I began to realize there was a world out there. I was no longer insulated. And it was a very healthy thing. It was terribly, terribly healthy. Liberated camps where Jews were dying, and this is terribly important. If the Jews were dead, they were dead. If they were alive, they were alive. So I had this identification with Jews who were dying, and we couldn't save them. And suddenly getting what kind of world is this? These were Jews who were dying because they were Jews, and they didn't know what hit them. They really didn't. And it just overwhelmed me. And I became terribly educated in that I came from a Jewish ghetto, totally secure, and now was amongst Jews who were killed because they were Jews. And what a terrible awakening. And why am I saying this? I'm just thinking that you can't just talk as a Jew. We got to talk as a Jew with different experiences. And I had the different experiences. When I was insulated, life was so easy. When I went out into that world, where there was anti-Semitism, and I saw Jews killed because they were Jews, it was a different world. So, I'm saying this to say that I can't define Jewishness, I can't define my Jewishness. But underneath it all, and I'll conclude with this because I don't want to speak too long, racial squeal that as Jews we have different experiences. We have them as Jews, and there's no use kidding. And I feel it as a Jew. And when I came out of the ghetto, where I was secure and life was so easy, I learned that I was a different kind of Jew. And I learned that I had to be a different kind of Jew. And I wouldn't, but I can't use any better word than it, and I wouldn't let those bastards get away with it. I just wouldn't. I have the strength to do it. So, I mean, I guess the reason for the sermon is that we can't define ourselves just as Jews. We've got to define ourselves as Jews who live in a different